Hi guys, LoreLord here, and I had an interesting idea for today's video. Today, I thought it would be fun to compare the Fallout 4 factions with real-world political ideologies. Before I do, however, I just want to say this video is just for jokes. In seriousness, I don't actually think Fallout 4 factions could be compared with real-world ideologies, simply just because I don't think old-world politics works in the apocalypse. So this video is just for jokes, so let's get into it. So let's start off with the political compass. The Institute would be authoritarian left, the Brotherhood of Steel would be authoritarian right, the Railroad libertarian left, and the Brotherhood of Steel libertarian right. Now here are the actual ideologies and why they would fit in with them. But just a note before I do, I will be basing the political ideologies off of the ones that are on this political compass. Okay, without further ado, let's begin. I'll start off with the Institute, who are what I would say authoritarian socialists, or state socialists. I'll start off with the obvious part, how they're authoritarian. In the Institute, you get very little personal freedom, even if you're not a synth. They are certainly a dictatorship. Sure, the leaders of the Institute do have meetings, which I guess does make it seem a bit like a democracy. However, it actually doesn't do anything in practice. If the player chooses to side with the Institute, they can see this when Father chooses you to be his successor. All the other Institute leaders denounce this decision, however, Father still gets his way. So the Institute is definitely a dictatorship. And even if you're not a synth, you get very little personal freedom if you are a member of the Institute. And if you are a synth, you are literally a slave. The closest thing to a personal freedom that you do get in the Institute if you are a synth is self-thought, and even this is extremely regulated. So here's why I'd say the Institute is socialist. Each of the different industries, if you'd call them, that manufacture their synths, their weapons, and all their technologies, like any other industry would, are not free markets. They are regulated by the entire organisation. So although it's hard to say for certain, I'm pretty sure it's safe to say that this can be compared to a socialist planned economy. Now let's go over to the Brotherhood of Steel, who I would say are clerical fascists. Clerical fascism, to put it into very simple terms, is religious fascism. And I think it's obvious to say why they would be fascists. It's literally a military dictatorship, the Brotherhood of Steel. But the reason I put them down as clerical fascists is because of their obsession with technology and their paranoia of outsiders having access to it. This obsession with technology, if you ask me, is on the brink of being comparable with a religion. So that's why I'd say they could be considered religious fascists, also known as clerical fascists. However, the reason I put them as only slightly clerical fascists, like on the brink of clerical fascism and right-wing populism, is because it's not really a religion, so they're not really clerical fascists. But I think they're clerical fascists enough to fall under that category. This one will be very easy to explain. The Railroad, who I put down as social liberals. And the reason I put them down as social liberals is because their entire ideology is about fighting for the liberty and legal equality of synths. And that is literally the definition of liberalism. So that's why I'd say they're social liberals. And finally, the Minutemen, who I consider to be constitutionalists. I know this isn't entirely accurate considering how this is in an apocalypse, so there can't be a constitution. However, here's how I think that they can be considered constitutionalists. Also, this video was just made for jokes, so it's not meant to be taken that literally. The Minutemen are both socially and economically liberal. Socially, because they literally fight for the settlers' right to freedom and independence from tyranny, literally, from raiders, super mutants, gunners, you name it. That's what their entire ideology is based around, defending settlers from tyranny and oppression. They also fight for the freedom to life, the freedom to private property, because they also protect settlers from being murdered and stolen from. And although the Constitution is no longer really a thing in the apocalypse, what the Minutemen are fighting for are literally parts that are written down in the United States Constitution. And also, the Minutemen are literally named after a militia force that fought during the American Revolutionary War. And if that isn't proof that they're constitutionalists, I don't know what is. So those are all the main Fallout 4 factions compared to real-world political ideologies. Once again, this video was not meant to be taken literally, just made for a bit of fun. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys in the next video. See ya.